Since the Renaissance, both performing and non-performing artists have been self-employed through the sale of their work. This video series will introduce you to several Midwest entrepreneurs who have turned their art into flourishing enterprises. The Entrepreneurial Artist Series has been made possible by a grant from the Coleman Foundation, funding programs that make a difference in entrepreneurship education, cancer care and research, and handicapped education and housing.
Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Artist. I'm Julie Swanson. Today, we are in the gallery of watercolorist Tom Lynch. Over the years, he has found unique ways to market his art and to create a demand for it. Tom, what do you believe are the key points an aspiring artist should know when they're first getting started?
Well, there's a couple of them, Julie, I'd like to explain. I think, first of all, the idea of thinking that they're in the service business, not in a manufacturing business. They're not creating a product, they're really creating a service. And they have to think in terms of the person that needs that service. They're using art for what purpose? And then that helps them in the creation of that particular art to be a better item for the need of the person. So, along with that, I have a general overview for marketing, creating a demand or interest for your service. That way, you're also developing a whole program upon having this interest, this excitement for someone's need for art. I also add to it having goals. I like having goals, a short-term goal, a 1 year, a 3 year, and a 5-year term goal. And I like to have the person have a vision. What is it they want out of all of this? Do they want money? Do they want fame? Do they want exposure, publicity? So having clear ideas as to what you want to gain helps you then establish a plan of action in achieving those goals.
First of all, how did you get started?
Well, I went to art school, of course, and I felt it was important to develop a certain amount of talent. I think too many artists, though, think they have to achieve a certain level of art and talent before they get involved in marketing the art, and that's really not true. So have a good, clear education was an important avenue. Then it became an element of gaining exposure. And I did every art fair. I exhibited in every bank and church and hospital and library that I could. And each time it was more important for me to gain a mailing list than it was to just look at the sales at the end of that art fair. How many more people saw my work, liked the work, took the time to write down their name and address? So I would do things that were in the high profile market, you know, areas where a lot of people would go and see the work. So along with a good education, then it began just by simply displaying as many paintings in as many places as you could.
Can you tell us about your first sales experience?
Oh, my first sale sure sticks in my mind pretty well, aside from the ones that Mom always bought. You know, while you're in school, Mom helped buy a few paintings, and those are the ones I really want to buy back or trade with other works of art, because really there was a point in time when I wouldn't have bought my own work looking at it. There really wasn't a level or a standard that I was wanting to achieve, but I had this painting and a sketch of a little person pulling a little red wagon, and you know, my babysitter saw that and just was enamored with it and wanted to buy it, and I thought that was the greatest idea that someone would want to buy my artwork. And so I was just thoughtfully trying to develop better skill and talent, and so it helped me recognize an important element, that there's someone out there for every level of artist that creates artwork. Someone out there wants to buy that particular art form. So don't think that you have to aspire to a certain professional standard to be ready to begin marketing your artwork. And that little red wagon was my first sale, and I'm proud of it to this day.
has the role of art shows changed throughout your career?
Well, that's an important element, I think. For me, the art fair was the way I really began my exposure and publicity and notoriety as an artist. When you get out of college, as much as you might like to think, you're not going to be able to immediately get into the market of selling and making a living off of just doing paintings. So I did some other things, and I also did some commercial art, but I also used the art fair market as a way to begin gaining some exposure. Now, you asked me how it changed, and sure, it has changed quite a bit, just that there are more shows. You know, in my day, 20 years ago, there were fewer shows, and a lot more people came to see those shows. But I still think it's a valuable way that people can get their work out. And it kind of goes back to something we said before, be a little better or be different. So I go to the art fair, and I'm the one that has a plant in the display. I'm the one that might have a carpeting or a little bit of music. I make it very inviting, you know, for someone to walk through and see the work. And then for me, the most important element is that I get their name and address. So I have a little mailing list book, and I encourage people to sign that, not if they buy. I look at the end of an art fair weekend to see if I gained a lot of new names, because then I can invite them to my next one-man show.
Okay, now how do you know in determining price?
Well, I don't have a solid answer for that other than I went to the art fairs for an entire year before I entered the art fair market. Now everyone would think, what's the big deal? I wanted to see who was doing what, did my homework, did my research, and pricing was also, I found out who was doing watercolors of that size, and I just came up with the price 20% less. Because an important element in pricing is that I never want to have the prices go down. And then I gradually, as major things happen in my career, I then raise the price. And just automatically, so someone that's bought a painting, they'll see the prices going up, and no matter where I'm at, I had a gallery in Carmel, California. They wanted to have the price of my artwork be $4,000, and I was at $2,200. And you would think, well, great, they're going to sell my work at $4,000, but it's a small world, and a collector that ever bought something at $4,000 and saw at an art fair or here in my showroom prices at $2,200 would really be the worst thing. Supply and demand helps me raise the price. Credible new accomplishments, being featured in the newspaper, winning an award, you know, I can raise the price a little bit that way. But I try and keep through all the galleries that handle my work and my own sales as well. You come in here, you'll pay as much as you would at Merrill Chase Gallery. So I don't want to change the prices, which is a good important thing for everyone to realize.
Besides the art fairs and galleries, are there any other avenues you use to display your artwork?
The idea of having a home show, a one-man show. Now, I didn't have the opportunity of being in a gallery, so I went from like the art fair circuit. Before I got to the galleries, I did a lot of having a once a year show in my home. And to tell you the truth, the first show was 200 invitations went out, and I was all proud of them. Of course, 198 of them were from Mom and Dad's address book of the greeting cards that they send out at Christmas time. But the two collectors that came in, and maybe it wasn't that proportion, but the few that were the collectors didn't know if the person next to them was a student or my cousin. It seemed like a good amount of people coming to a show. It had the feeling of a success. And that show has grown to be quite a successful element. I've done it for 20 years. Now people like to, you know, they call up and, how can I get an invitation? And I go, well, all right, I'll put you on the list, but it's by invitation only. Of course, between you and I would invite anyone that wanted to come to the show. Julie, there's one element that I want to talk to you about, and that is doing art on a commission basis for a client.
I have a few questions about that. How do you develop that type of work? Why would you even try that work? And also, how different is that from your other types of art that you do?
Good questions. Well, the reason why is there's a lot of times that I want some artwork to be used by a particular client or agency. So I have to then take them through the process. They're not real sure how or why this is going to work out. And so I will take and do the commission so that I can bring them through the process. Now, I do something better or different there once again, as you well might imagine. I will do several sketches and showcase to the person that I can do it with this look or that look, a high horizon or a low horizon, and then I get them involved and they say, well, I like the background of this one, I like the foreground of that one, I like the different parts, so I can help them put the parts together. I bring them here in the showroom and I had them look at other paintings and say, okay, do you like like the color in this one. So I help them gain a visual idea as to how it's going to look. But my real reason, as you ask why, was so that I could get my artwork in some locations where it might not be already used for a bank, for the cover of an annual report, for a golf course or a country club. And that really opens up a lot of avenues for me to develop my artwork into different areas that might not normally be thought of using artworks. And they'll showcase their company, their bank, behind a painting. And what I can do that they can't do is I can create a nice atmosphere, a fresh, lively, or colorful, so it looks good. It looks like a nice bank instead of just brick and mortar. You know, it's fresh, exciting. Then I take them a step further and I show them how they can use the image of my art to project their image, you know, on the cover of a greeting card or on a calendar, or make it into a custom print, and they can give it away to their special customers. So I have to a lot of times educate them and bring them along the way, not only in developing the painting, but also how they can use then either the sketches or how they can use the end result product in more ways. That way you can bring your art into areas that someone might not think art was needed after all.
I've noticed you've been published in many different places. How does someone first getting started go about getting their first article published?
You're starting with the local newspaper. I mean, the local paper, what's their objective? And this is a good idea of explaining marketing. You want to think in terms of them. You'd like to have yourself featured in the newspaper. Well, what's the job of the newspaper? To have people that read it find news information. So you want to think in terms of, do you have something newsworthy? Do you have a value to providing for them, people that are going to want to subscribe or to buy that particular paper? So if there's some event that you're doing in the community, the local newspaper would love to hear about it. And they'll do a little story on it, and they'll send a photographer out there. An important element, though, is to save. I used to get 100 copies when I would have anything published, and I would put them in the book like you're looking at there. So it's somewhat, this book is a way in which that I am promoting myself. I'm bragging without having the customer come in and say, really, I'm really worth it, I really like you to buy this painting. Having them see some of the elements where I've been published gives a certain credibility. They like then going with the winner. They like riding on this, you know, on the same wave, a high wave that it seems like I already am on. Now there's a great opportunity for artists, more so than when I first began. There was only one art magazine, American Artist. You know, now there's 3 or 4 out there that you can get into. So I wrote an article, and this is kind of another good story, is I wrote an article and sent it to the publisher and the editor of the magazine. I was so proud of my great article, and I got a letter back saying, Tom, thanks for sending us this information, but we really don't need, you know, what you're submitting at this particular time. You know, we've had several other artists talk about it. I was rejected. An important element in getting rejected is to read between the lines. They weren't really rejecting me, but the article I wrote was one that I thought was good. I didn't think in terms of their point of view. So I went to the library, I looked at 2 years of back issues of that magazine, and I tried to find something that someone hadn't written about, and I couldn't find something in techniques. So I found and talked about developing a series of paintings and taking the series on display on tour around Chicago. So this particular idea was interesting to them. And as you notice if you notice the article, I also provided them with color samples that they could use. So I said, you know, I already have color separations of that particular image in this particular size, just in case you need 1 or 2 extra. Well, normally they publish and they put 1 color picture. They ended up putting 9 color pictures because I provided them. I was thinking in terms of their needs, needing more color examples. So at that particular time, that was the most color examples that were put into an article. It didn't talk about how blue and yellow make green. It talked about doing something in the business side of art, and that's how I started getting published, looking at it from their point of view.
Going back to when you first entered the market, did you just dive in head first, or did you do any sort of test marketing?
If you're looking for a certain area that you want to get into, such as prints, and I have, as you can well see here in the showroom, I have 150 images in print. And so I made the mistake, and the important thing was if you make mistakes, write down what you learned from them. So mistakes can be helpful. as long as you learn from them. I printed a print that I liked. I forgot to see if anyone else liked it. So I sold one to me, and I still have all the other prints still available. So I tested the market by, at the art fair, I would have a painting on display, and I would say, prints available soon. And so I would find out the number of people that said, oh, when that comes into print, give me a call. And so I would write their name down. So that's somewhat the test marketing for an image to see if it's saleable. I will now go to the galleries that sell my work, and if I'm going to publish something into print, I would show them a photograph and say, what do you think? And I would get information. I would have them talk to the end buyer and see what they thought, if someone would buy it. And it may be just a cycle, meaning a time, that the blue one that I liked, it wasn't ready, the market wasn't ready for it, the color or the style or so forth. Impressionism is popular, so I found the more impressionistic scenes, you know, that I would show them those possible elements. So for any object that you're going to, or element that you want to publish into a print, test marketing is valuable when you're going to make an investment. Getting involved in print, since we're on that topic, it's like running an entirely different business. Too many artists thought, great, I could have a print made, I'll then be successful. It's like opening up an ice cream shop. What do you know about opening up an ice cream shop? Well, you've got to know merchandising and discounting, distribution, you know, hours and customer service and all those elements. Having prints isn't necessarily the same type of business as having an original for sale in that gallery in Carmel that, by the way, I went back there, I'm now at $4,000, so they were ready to have, you know, my artwork. And also what I did is I helped create a demand. I'll tell you a little secret, the viewers will enjoy this, is that I had people go to that gallery and request me. And so then enough people requested me, the gallery said, you know, I've heard your name a lot. We kind of thought you might be interested in coming back. But what I also did to help with that, I looked at the gallery's point of view. What's their job? To sell paintings.
Right.
So I offered to them, in working together, I have a list of names of people that live in this area. Now those names might be art fair students or workshop students that I've had along the way, and I provided him with names of people that like my artwork, that have seen it, maybe have bought it. So I want to work together with them at selling my artwork and not have it just be something that they do on their own and I do something over here, you know, on my own. I think it's a collaboration, a group effort. So in that idea of, you know, having my name mentioned when they walked in the gallery, along with I provided the opportunity to do a demonstration, you know, to help create interest, and people would come in. That's something extra for them to have other than just, you know, one or two paintings along the way. And then I had to have the prices. Certain galleries you might be not priced high enough for, and other galleries that so there's different areas that you want to find out. And when you go to find a gallery, you don't want to go in a gallery that already has your artwork or has something like your work. I shouldn't say have your artwork, but you want to find a gallery that doesn't have work like what you're doing, because the galleries will rely on a certain style. And if there's someone painting in that style, they're not going to be interested in you. So that rejection wasn't against you, is they'd already found someone doing traditional or impressionistic watercolor. And also having a series of paintings related to one topic, such as a series of Chicago harbors. And I would take the series of Chicago harbors and go to the different harbors. Even though this was Belmont Harbor, I would take it over to Montrose Harbor. So there'd be a collected body of work. And with that collected body of work, I can get some publicity. There's an intrigue element for someone to want to come to see the show, even though they're loyal to their harbor. They'd like to see what it's like over at the other harbor, Jackson Park Harbor or whatever. So this series idea, about every other year or every 3 years, I would develop a series. And then an important element, I would take it on tour, which I have this series of paintings, and then I would take it on display for like 2 weeks or even 1 month. And at different locations, I've had a series of Chicago cafes, outdoor cafes, series of Chicago at night. That was a fun one. The first painting was a painting of sunset. And so guess when the invitation said the time of the show began? At sunset. So, oh, that's interesting. It got some way. So that's what marketing, creating an interest. So I created the interest of, wow, I'm going to see a whole series. Every painting was the next hour. So here was this, you know, the picture at 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock, all the way to the last painting in the show was. You got it. So we had that particular theme that made it interesting to see the city from different points of view at different times of the day, and that was a series of Chicago at night. And I had the show at the top of the Hancock Building. Sounds like a nice place.
Sure does.
I'll tell you how I marketed to get that particular show there. I went to the top of the Hancock Building. I went there every day of the week and found what was the time of day and the day of the week when no one was there. So then I went back to and talked to the manager and said, I have this exhibition that I am going to have on display. I'm looking for a prominent place for a preview, and I'm going to offer you first, before I go anywhere else, the opportunity to have some prominent collectors that are by invitation only to come and see this exhibition. My thought was kind of like on a Sunday at 3 o'clock. Well, see, I did my homework, and I knew it's Sunday at 3 o'clock, no one was in the lounge. So then he offered for me the opportunity of having that exhibit there for free, because it brought business into his particular lounge and restaurant, a good clientele, he felt, by invitation only, and there was going to be some mention of his lounge to the people that didn't even come. So he got advertising out of it, he got sales out of it, he got promotion out of it. So from his point of view, I was the best thing that happened for him that month. So I looked at his point of view, and there's a phrase that I use: to sell John Brown what John Brown buys, you must see John Brown through John Brown's eyes.
When you first create a piece of art, where does it go from there?
Oh, there's an important thing to realize there is, and it actually goes along with the story I tell my students. For me, the worst thing that can happen is to create a painting at the beginning of the week and have someone come in on Friday and buy it. Now, for many, they go, wait a minute, your whole idea is to sell paintings. But what I'm trying to say there is I want to get as much mileage out of creating that artwork as I can. I want as many people to see that particular image to then create a demand for me to create more images like that. So to do one painting of Venice and sell it, that's sad. I want to create a series of paintings and have a lot of people see those particular paintings.
Now, what particular things do artists need in order to increase their marketing?
Oh, we could use some marketing tools. You know, I have a fun little thing. Let me show you this. I create business cards. And when you say you're an artist, people are going to go, whoa, they have their own image in mind. And that may not be exactly the image that you want them to have. They may look for the beret or the earring and wondering if you're really the artist. So I have even business cards, and it's a part of a marketing tool for me, is that I'll show them, would you like a golf course scene? Would you like a scene of Venice? Would you like a Chicago scene? So in essence, I have people vying for which particular card they want, and that's a marketing tool that's helpful. You know, having the stationery, having the business cards, having the folders. When I send a letter to someone and I really want them to read the letter, I'll put the letter inside a mailing tube. And when you get a stack of mail, what has to go on top? And so what's the first thing that they might need? So those are some of the unique ones. There's a file folder. Let me show you a file folder. So if I'm going to send a client a presentation folder of some of my artwork, or if I'm going to teach a workshop and I want them to have information about the workshops or a commercial account, any avenue of business that I do. But I have found a file folder where, you know how the tab is up on some of the folders? Well, my tab goes all the way across. So when they put that in their file, they're going to see that name Tom Lynch while they're looking for Tom Jones or someone else. So it's a unique tool, but you want to have, back to the beginning part, being better or different. If you can do a better job at making a folder, do that. A little bit different, as I do with the business cards, all a little bit of color images. It relates to what I'm doing, shows the diversity of what I can do, and it creates kind of a trend. Can I have this one? And see, that's good marketing, creating a demand. They actually are picking which card they want, so automatically they're interested in what I'm doing.
I'm intrigued by the many different uses of your art. For instance, I noticed this Chicago scene screensaver, which I think is great. What other things have you done?
Well, an important thing for everyone to understand that your artwork can be used in more places than just on someone's wall. You know, you see it in a gallery, you think artwork, you think gallery, you think home. So I want to get the viewer to recognize right away that there's many uses. You want to get as much mileage as you can. I do an important thing. I take a 4x5 color transparency of every painting I've ever done, and I have 20 professionally done 35mm slides taken of all my paintings. These are reproduction quality, so when someone comes up with the idea for a screensaver, I can show them many samples, and the quality is such that I don't have to go find the painting and ask the customer, can I borrow the painting back? So I'm ready and able to provide artwork. I did a painting for a customer at one time, and I sold it for $1,200, and I was thrilled. Fortunately, I saved a 4x5 color transparency of that, because 5 years later, Eddie Bauer came to me and said, Tom, we need some snow scenes for the cover of a Christmas catalog. And I gave them, instead of just one picture, I gave them choices. So that was marketing already. They go, whoa, you're giving us options to choose from. They were very happy with that, a good marketing idea. Then I was able to give them the transparency with which they could use to have it on the cover. And I was paid $2,500 for the one-time use of my artwork for the cover of a catalog. So I sold the use of the artwork, so the mileage is really important. So you want to save a format that can be used for mileage. There's a book came out, The Fine Art of America's Fairways. And so they came to Tom and wanted to know if you had any golf course paintings. So I gave them 75 different golf course paintings to choose from. They were so impressed, had so many extras to choose from, that one of them ended up on the cover. So I do whatever I can, again, as part of the high-profile activity and getting the mileage use. Here's a mouse pad and a coaster, you know, for your cup. So I'll have that particular sample of artwork. Every time it's important for two things. One, that my name is seen on the front, so they can find the Tom Lynch name. And then also on the back, they can have a little biography story, a little bit of writing about the artist, so that I can get some credit for having done that particular artwork. Calendars are, you know, an avenue. There's many, 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 many avenues that you can use. Advertisers, when they're creating a promotion for a brush. I mean, here they're selling brushes, but what way better to sell a brush than behind, you know, artwork? So I'm showing them artwork for that. One neat thing too is when I have them showcase what they're doing, I have it done in a sleeve where they can see the artwork all the way through the particular image. So I'm showcasing that. Scorecards for golf courses. Instead of showing a photograph, why not show a painting of the golf course, a little more glamour idea. Collector plates. Julia, the ideas are endless. You've got plates, you've got ornaments, and then, you know, last but not least, who would have thought the Tom Lynch collector bear? But there's many different avenues. Don't limit yourself to any is the main idea that I want to get across.
Tom, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. Thank you for sharing your art and your experiences with us.
Well, you said a key word there, Julie, sharing. It's what it's all about. I've had some great professionals that have taken me under their wing, offered me some insight. I've learned some great things along the way on my own, and I think it's a real important element for me to share with you, share with your audience. It's not a matter of learning something and keeping it a secret. I learn more by explaining and sharing what I've learned, so I'm really happy that we had a chance to do this together.
Thank you. Thank you for watching. Join us again next time. For The Entrepreneurial Artist, I'm Julie Swanson.
The statements provided by Tom Lynch depict his unedited thoughts and experiences and are not necessarily representative of those held by the North Central College Center for Entrepreneurship and Small Business or the Coleman Foundation.